Hi everyone and welcome back to Tennis Time. We have the dream final for the French Open 2020. The world number one Novak Djokovic is going to play the world number two Rafael Nadal. The most dominant player of the last decade, Djokovic is going to play the most dominant player ever on clay and especially at the French Open. Nadal, a 12-time French Open champion, Djokovic, one-time French Open champion himself. Nadal having in total 19 Grand Slam titles, Djokovic having 17. Both are very close to each other, and this title is probably going to mean a whole lot to these two players, both players, and I'm sure both of them are definitely going to want to win on Sunday. So let's have a look what's exactly on the line for these two players. So fun fact or interesting fact for you, this is their 56th career meeting in total. This is the 16th meeting in a Grand Slam. So 56 matches in Open era. This is an absolute record. As I previously mentioned, Nadal is going for his 20th Grand Slam. He would with that equal Roger Federer's record of 20. Federer reached the 20 mark in 2018, so it's a relatively recent number. Nadal is going for his 13th French Open title. He is the one who holds the record with 12, and overall nobody has ever won a Grand Slam more times than Nadal with his 12 victories at the French Open. Margaret Court is next from the 60s and 70s. She has 11 Australian Open singles titles. And Björn Borg is just with, that's just, okay, in brackets, with 6 titles in second place, most winning French Open title player back in the 70s and early 80s. If Nadal wins, he is still keeping his chances to finish world number one for a 6th time in total. And there is plenty of stake for Djokovic as well. Djokovic is trying to get to Grand Slam number 18, as I just said before. That would mean he would be 2 behind Federer and just 1 Grand Slam behind Nadal. If Djokovic manages to win today, he would be the only player of the big three winning each Grand Slam event at least twice. Nadal had many times chances to win a second at the Australian Open in 2012, 14, 17 and 19, and he's lost each time in the final. So Djokovic will be trying to win his 2nd French Open title. This will be his 5th final. Interesting parallel there. Nadal playing 5 finals at the Australian Open, winning only just the one. Will it be the same for Djokovic, playing 5 French Open finals and winning just the one? Another thing, if Djokovic wins, he will be probably number 1 at the end of the year. He will be finishing world number 1 most probably. And if Djokovic does win on Sunday, he would be the only player ever to win a final against Nadal at the French Open. As I said, Nadal has 12 French Open titles. What I didn't say was that Nadal was 12 times in the final and he's won each single time, so he's never lost a match when he reached the French Open final. So if we look a little bit at their history, they've played 55 times prior. Djokovic has a slight lead with 3 matches, 29 to 26. And interestingly enough, from their very first meeting, which was actually at the French Open in 2006, to the end of the decade, end of 2010, they have met and played 23 times. Nadal had an overwhelming lead, 16 to 7, and from all 9 encounters on clay, Nadal has won all 9. They've met at the Olympic Games once as well in Beijing, in the semi-final, and that was on a hard court, which Nadal has won incidentally back then. But if we look at the last decade, it's a little bit different. Um, Overall, Nadal has a 17-7 lead on clay, but in this decade, it's just 8-7 for Nadal on clay. And out of the 32 times they've met from 2011 till 2020, including the last encounter at the ATP Cup in January this year, Djokovic has won 22 matches and Nadal only 10. The last time Nadal won against Djokovic on a hard court or any other surface than clay was only in 2013, so that's 7 years ago. I know that's not really relevant for this match because it is going to be on clay. However, I'm just trying to state the fact that Nadal seemed to have a lot of problems with Djokovic on any surface, even though he has a lead on clay as well because he's up 8-7, but he had a whole lot more problems playing Djokovic than before 2010. What speaks for Nadal, the last 3 meetings on clay, he's won them all. And the last encounter which these players played against each other on a hard court in Australia, that was won by Djokovic in the final of the ATP Cup. What's also an incredible number, they've played 15 times in total in a Grand Slam, so they met 3 times at Wimbledon, Djokovic leading 2-1. 7 matches at the French Open, Nadal leads 6-1, but the last time they've met was in the quarters in 2015, and that was won in straight sets by Djokovic. That's Nadal's second defeat of all time against anybody at the French Open. 2 meetings at the US Open, both being won by Djokovic, and 3 matches at the US Open, Nadal leads there 2-1. Out of these 15 slams, 8 were in a final of a Grand Slam. There it's for all. Nadal has won 2 US Open finals and 2 French Open finals. US Open finals he's won were in 2010 and 2013, at the French Open 2012 and 2014 finals. Interestingly enough, all these matches and finals Nadal has won have been in 4 sets against Djokovic. Djokovic winning 1 US Open final in 2011, also a 4-set match. Wimbledon 2011, also a 4-set match. And 2 Australian Open finals back in 2012. That epic, which lasted for almost 6 hours, that was won by Djokovic in 5. And their last Grand Slam final meeting, 2019 Aussie Open, Djokovic winning in 3 straight sets. So those are the numbers regarding their head-to-head. Also, another interesting fact, Nadal he has won 99 matches at the French Open out of the 101 he's ever played. So on Sunday he's also going for his 3-digit victory at the French Open all time. So that would mean his 100th victory at the French Open. So now if we look a little bit at their path at the French Open, let's start with the number 1 seed Djokovic. He's been relatively convincing in the first 4 matches. The quarterfinal was a little bit wobbly. You can look at my previous video where I've talked more extensively about that match. And last night, Djokovic against Tsitsipas, that looked like it's going to be a straight sets victory for Djokovic, but somehow Tsitsipas has managed to turn it around. So let's dive in a little bit more in that last match and let's see how Djokovic has been fared, so we can try to put in perspective what we can expect in that final on Sunday. After the match which he had against Pablo Carreño Busta, he seemed not to be at 100% at the beginning, 1 set, 1.5 sets, but after that he somehow was more dominant and he managed to cut out a lot of errors, and he put Carreño Busta on the back foot many times. So he finished off well against the match with Tsitsipas. The beginning and the way he started the match was completely different. He was on from the very first point on. If you look at the dynamic of that match, he started serving, he was love 40 down. Tsitsipas seemed also be starting quite strongly and with clear intent to dominate points and take faith in his own hands. But he lost those 3 break points, and although he had a few more in the upcoming set, in the upcoming games, he did not manage to convert. And the same story was going on and repeating itself in the second set too. So Tsitsipas was playing well. Djokovic was also playing very well, both having chances, but Djokovic being the one who managed to convert his chances, his break chances. And by the time you realized he was 2 sets to love up, and he was still going strong in the third. Tsitsipas still having a few break chances, but not able to convert. So, interesting fact, in the second set, Djokovic has broken Tsitsipas' service game twice. In both instances, back to back, Tsitsipas was leading 40 love, and he's lost both times his service game. It was a very painful match to watch from Tsitsipas' perspective, because he must have felt that he's playing well. He's good on that court. He's generating chances for himself to break, to win games, to win a set, but it's very far off. If you look at the scoreboard after the first 2 sets, 6-3 and 6-2, seems very dominant from Djokovic. Somehow it was, but then again you had the impression that Tsitsipas was more in that match than the scoreboard was showing. So to Tsitsipas' credit, after having had 10 break points and not converting one, finally he managed to do it at the tail end of the third set. Djokovic was 4-5 up, and he was serving for the set and for the match, and that was the time when Tsitsipas has really turned it on. He's broken Djokovic, he's held serve, and then he's broken Djokovic again, and Djokovic was serving at 5-6 in the third set. So that was the first time when Tsitsipas really managed to convert some chances, and you had the impression that he's now dominating Djokovic a little bit. He was starting to play a lot better, not missing too many shots. So the match has shifted, and that showed at the beginning of the fourth set as well, where Tsitsipas has broken straight away, held his serve, so he was leading 2-love at the beginning of the fourth set, and then he was serving to go 3-love up, and then Djokovic has finally managed to get a break, and he's get a game with a break, and it went back to 2-1. Djokovic serving, then it became 2-all, and after a long stretch of Tsitsipas winning games, where he's won 5 games in a row, that streak was broken, and from that point on, both are playing really well. And especially Tsitsipas, he's faced a lot of break points now that the roles have been completely reversed. Tsitsipas was the one who had to face many break points. Djokovic was still playing well, and he was generating a lot of chances. But Tsitsipas really managed to hold firm. And out of the 10 break points Djokovic generated, he managed to break only once, and that was at the beginning, in the third game of the fourth set. And Tsitsipas, from the 3 break points he's got in that fourth set, he's managed to convert twice, and that was enough for him to get that fourth set. So when Djokovic is serving down at 5-4, Tsitsipas has broken through, and he's taken that fourth set. Now, he's gotten treatment once at the beginning of the fourth set, I think. So there was something not right with the upper hip part, it seemed. And you could see that progressing into the fourth set. So it must have taken a tremendous amount of energy for him to be able to come back from 2-0. He's made it 2-all, but then in the end, Djokovic seemed to have more left in the tank for once, and on the other hand, Djokovic seemed to be the guy who knew his way around in the fifth set in a Grand Slam semi-final a lot better than Tsitsipas did. And for him, there was somehow no doubt in his mind that he's the one who's going to win that match and that final set, and he did in quite a convincing and dominant fashion. It was 6-1 in that final set in 32 minutes. So there are two things we need to look out for. For once, for starters, Djokovic was playing superbly well and he was very dominant in key moments for 2 sets and 3/4 of a set. He should have been clinical for one more game and then he would have had a straight sets victory. Then I would have said he's definitely the more fresher guy, the more powerful guy going into that final. Given the fact that he's lost that game and he's lost the second 2 sets, he was forced to play an almost 4-hour match, and he had to go to distance, he had to go to 5 sets. Credit to him, he was the stronger player in the 5th set, but he surely should have closed it out in the 3rd. I think for Tsitsipas it's a good learning experience, and what he's shown in this Grand Slam is somewhat confirming what people were saying in the last year and a half, 2 years, that he's definitely somebody to look out for, and we see him, or I see him, as a very strong contender for future Grand Slam victories. Okay, having said that, now going to the Djokovic, from Djokovic, Tsitsipas, let's move on to Nadal and Schwartzman. So if we look at Nadal's path to the final, if we just look at it on paper, it seems quite convincing. Nadal has not dropped a single set. He's played 2 tiebreakers in both. He's been the dominant player. He's won against Sinner a first set tiebreak 7 points to 4, and then against Schwartzman in that third and final set, very dominant tiebreak 7-love. But you know that although he may not have won, not have dropped the set, it's not a guarantee that he will win that final on Sunday against Djokovic. Nadal has managed to win the French Open 3 times so far without dropping a set. For his confidence, I think it will be good that although this year the French Open is a little bit different, we've had heavy conditions, cold weather, different balls not getting that high of a spin, so he cannot dominate with his forehand as he normally does, or as he usually does. On the other hand, he's shown to himself and to everybody else that he can really well adapt to different weather conditions. It's still the French Open, it's still his home away from home, he feels great here, and he really wants that 20th Grand Slam title and that 13th French Open title. Funnily enough, when I look at the time spent on court, Djokovic has spent 14 hours and 36 minutes, Nadal a little bit over an hour less. So Nadal is going for his 13th French Open and he's spent 13 hours and 13 minutes going into that into that final. So doesn't that say something about Nadal? Okay, of course it doesn't. It just seems a little bit funny as a coincidence, going for his 13th title and 13 hours and 13 minutes. Anyway, if we dig deep a little bit into that match he has played against Schwartzman, we had the impression that it could be a tricky one. He's played Schwartzman something like 3 weeks ago in Rome. It was his 3rd match coming back after the pandemic. He did not have a lot of match practice. He did look very good in his first 2 matches in Rome. The first one against Pablo Carreño Busta, the second one against Dusan Lajovic. And he's lost to Schwartzman, not playing particularly well, and Schwartzman playing really well. Schwartzman won 6-2 and 7-5. Here, Nadal was a little bit edgy starting off, but maybe so was Schwartzman. The first game on Nadal's service game lasted for 40 minutes. Schwartzman did have break points, but he did not manage to convert. Nadal held, and then he broke, and then Schwartzman did break back, but Nadal broke again, went 4-1 up, and from that point on, each player has held serves. So Nadal has managed to serve out the set 6-3. It was not an easy set. It was a set which lasted for 63 minutes. Nadal was a little bit disturbed at the end of the first set when he was serving for the set at 5-3. The sun was still very much in his eyes. Sometimes when he went more into the court, the sun was already gone because the court was in shade. But if you went back to the baseline or a little bit further back beyond the baseline, I think when he was still serving, it did disturb him. But he handled that difficult weather conditions pretty well. In the second set was a similar story, with the difference that Schwartzman was kicking off that set. Nadal has managed to take 2 breaks and he's won, while Schwartzman was serving in the second set at 5-3. So he's broken again and went up 6-3. So he had twice a break lead in the fourth, and Schwartzman did manage to come back twice. Somehow the match dynamic shifted. Schwartzman somehow started to play even more aggressive. He started to miss a little bit less. He seemed to have a lot more belief and confidence. And he's really made it difficult for Nadal to get into the tiebreak. You really had the impression, okay, this could get wobbly and he could lose that third set, but in the end he got to the tiebreak, he held firm, and when they were in that tiebreak, Nadal did not drop 1 point, which was quite impressive, and I think that also should give him a lot of confidence. That in a tight spot or in a tight situation, either he was playing Sinner in the quarters or Schwartzman in the semis, he held firm. Okay, Djokovic is not Schwartzman or not Sinner for sure, and that's going to be a lot harder, and it's going to be the sternest test ever for him if he wants to win that title. But I suppose winning a Grand Slam title is difficult, and it's supposed to be like that. Alright. Weather conditions. Weather conditions have been a strong point or a strong talking point of the 2020 French Open. It's not during the summertime. It's autumn. It's almost mid-October. I've looked at the weather forecast for Sunday. It's not going to rain. At least that's what the forecast is showing on Saturday morning. I think the forecast can be quite accurate if you look 1 day ahead. It's going to be a little bit cloudy. It's going to be 14 degrees Celsius only, so it's not warm, but it's going to be an open roof final. At least that's how it looks. That's going to go more in favor of Rafa. The fact that it's colder and the spin is not that grippy, that's going in favor of Djokovic. I've noticed in the match against Schwartzman, they started a little bit earlier during the day in midday time. The sun was out. My impression was that the spin was more effective from Nadal's forehand. As the match went on and they were more at the tail end of the third set, Nadal's forehand spin was not that effective anymore. This is something that could be very similar on Sunday. They start at 3 o'clock local time. If the match goes beyond 3 hours, which it probably will, then Nadal may have difficulties toward the fourth set, the third set, fourth set, if they go that far. But given all the dynamics and the feel I'm getting from both players, and this being Nadal's domain, it's not that Djokovic is not feeling well on clay, and as I said at the beginning of the video, from the last 15 meetings, it's 8-7 for Nadal on clay. And the last meeting in 2015 at the French was won by Djokovic. However, if I'm putting all the factors together, I think Nadal is going to win his 13th French Open title. That's my prediction. I'm going for 4 or 5 sets, but I think Nadal is going to do it in 4. Okay, I would really love to see and read your thoughts on the match. Please leave a comment below, let me know what you think, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and see you after the finals.